This video is for educational purposes only. The safety of our own home is something most of us take for granted. But in July of 2018, one Brazilian home in Guarapuava would be shattered beyond repair. The love that was once the foundation to this home would soon become the backdrop of an unthinkable tragedy done to Tatiana Spitzner, which ended her life. How, you ask? At the hands of her husband. Who was Tatiana Spitzner? What horrors awaited her on that fateful night? And what drove the man she loved to commit such a heinous act? This is the harrowing tale of Tatiana Spitzner and the darkness that consumed her life. Born in the vibrant landscapes of Brazil, Tatiana Spitzner, a dedicated lawyer, was 29 years old in July of 2018. Having pursued law, she not only championed justice in courtrooms but was a beacon of strength and resilience in her personal life. Tatiana's passion wasn't limited to her work. She exuded warmth and kindness in every facet of her life. With dreams of building a future, she was determined to use her skills to make a difference. But those dreams, which should have led to years of prosperity and happiness, were cruelly cut short. The same year, as Tatiana navigated the intricacies of her life, she was living with her husband, Luiz Felipe Manbelair, a professor at a university. On the surface, Luiz seemed to be a dedicated professor, engrossed in his scholarly pursuits. But beyond the classroom and the academic papers, another side of Luiz was hidden, a dark side that would soon shroud Tatiana's life in darkness and despair. On the fateful evening of July 22, 2018, the residential tower in which Tatiana and Luiz lived seemed no different from any other day. As far as the neighbors knew, the couple had gone about their day, same as everyone else. That night, however, was about to reveal the haunting secrets of apartment 303, and the usually quiet corridors of the building were about to bear witness to a chilling sequence of events. Their argument started outside. That evening, the city center condominium's security cameras became silent spectators to a terrifying ordeal. A car pulled up to the building, and in it, Luiz, who was trained in jiu-jitsu, was unleashing a series of blows on the woman he claimed he loved. He slapped Tatiana multiple times across the face as she violently tried to fend him off. But the horrors didn't end at the vehicle's threshold. The vile aggression continued unabated into the building's underground car park. Here, Tatiana was further hurt, kicked, throttled, and pursued like prey. The building's CCTV system revealed a haunting scene. Tatiana, with her eyes wide with fear, desperately trying to escape through an elevator. But even this sanctuary was breached. In the confines of the elevator, she was viciously attacked again, her attempts at resistance futile against the overpowering strength of her assailant. Every chilling second captured on tape showed the horrible escalation of an already terrible situation. The cameras continue filming, showing Luiz forcefully dragging his wife out, preventing her escape. Luiz succeeds in dragging Tatiana to their flat, and what ensues next is an argument unlike the neighbors had ever heard before. Their altercation, which appeared to stem from a heated argument, turned violent in those early hours, echoing through the hallways. It wasn't merely a simple disagreement between a couple, it was a fierce battle, charged with emotions, desperation, and violence, resonating with the echoes of what neighbors described as shouts and pleading cries for help. And it all ended with 4 chilling words: "My love, wake up." Some 20 minutes after entering their flat, after the terrible argument, Luiz recorded bringing Tatiana's lifeless body up in the elevator. Next, he moves to clean the traces of blood off the walls. By dawn, the Spitzner-Manbelair apartment was no longer the abode of love and togetherness it once was. Tatiana's lifeless body was found, her spirit extinguished too soon. The marks on her body hinted at a violent struggle, and the immediate suspicion of local police turned to Luiz. His apartment, their shared haven, had now become a chilling crime scene. However, as the morning sun cast shadows on the tragic scene, Luiz Felipe Manbelair's version of events emerged. He claimed a different tale, one where he wasn't the antagonist but a bereaved husband. However, with overwhelming evidence and the neighbors' testimonies, his version of events would soon be rigorously examined. As the dust settled and the immediate shock receded, the quest for the truth intensified. Piranha's Medical Legal Institute, the esteemed IML, soon released their report. The findings were nothing short of distressing. Tatiana's body bore the chilling marks of strangulation, the bruises on her neck a haunting testament to her last moments. But there was more. The injuries on her body were also consistent with a fall, leading to speculation that she might have been thrown or fell from the apartment. This was corroborated by eyewitness reports that stated that they saw Louise pick Tatiana's body up from the pavement. But Tatiana hadn't simply fallen. No, the reality of the situation is much darker than that. The report indicated a lack of certain chemical reactions typically associated with fear during a fall. It was also revealed that her blood alcohol level was high, pointing to a possible state of vulnerability on that fateful night. The results of the investigation show that she was killed inside the apartment, strangled to death, and her body was thrown over the balcony of the apartment. She was dead before her body even hit the ground. It was then that Louise took the elevator to the ground floor, collected Tatiane's body, and took it back up to the apartment. Multiple residents stepped forward to testify against Louise, their testimonies painting a consistent picture of the eerie happenings of that night. They had heard the chilling cries for help, the desperate shouts, and the undeniable fear in Tatiana's voice. Although they had called the police, it was too late to save her. Beyond the testimonies from the residents of the apartment complex and court witnesses, personal testimonies began to emerge. Friends of Tatiana, still reeling from the sudden and unfortunate loss of their friend, revealed a series of texts that painted a chilling picture. The messages, sent by Tatiana in her last days, spoke of fear, of unease in her home with her husband. She sensed a growing darkness in her relationship that she couldn't fully comprehend or articulate, and it scared her. Louise didn't only abuse Tatiana physically, he was also quite proficient in verbally berating her. He would call her humiliating nicknames like albino dung as a dig at her skin color. He would also destroy her clothes if he didn't like them, and he had to approve whatever she bought in order to wear anything new. Tatiana lived in fear of Louise, and unfortunately, that fear came to an end with her death. After bringing her body up the stairs, security cameras caught Louise fleeing the scene in a car. Luckily, an unplanned car crash stopped him in his tracks. He was arrested on suspicion of murder some 185 miles from the city after crashing on a motorway. Yet even in custody, Louise wove a narrative of his own. He presented himself as not a perpetrator, but as a man disturbed, fractured by the weight of the events. His excuse for running was that he was too disturbed by images of his wife jumping to stay. As we now know, his statement would be dissected against the undeniable truths the evidence hinted at. In the vibrant tapestry of Brazilian society, under the shadows of its grand architecture, lies a tale so harrowing it sends shivers down one's spine. Luiz Felipe Manveler, the one once perceived as an academic beacon, now stands tainted, encapsulating the darkness that lurked behind his facade. The trial of Luiz Felipe Manveler lasted only 7 days. His conviction was made by a jury composed entirely of men. During the trial, he even apologized to the victim's family for assaulting Tatiana multiple times throughout their relationship, but he remained firm in his story that his wife jumped on her own from the balcony, committing suicide despite all the evidence pointing to the contrary. Charged with heinous crimes under Brazilian law, Manveler's every action, every gesture, and every claim has come under the judiciary's scrutinizing lens. His once distinguished name is now synonymous with a grievous act, forever altering the course of Tatiana's promising life. Louise was sentenced to 30 years in prison for murder, although many would classify his evil actions as femicide. He was also sentenced to an extra year, 9 months and 18 days for procedural fraud. He's currently detained in the industrial penitentiary of Guarapuava, but beyond the judicial corridors, beyond the stark cell bars, lies a narrative more significant than the one tragic incident. Tatiana Spitzner's demise stands as a somber reminder of the unchecked pandemic of domestic violence that festers in homes across the globe. It beckons societies, communities, and individuals to be ever vigilant, ever proactive. Because behind closed doors, in the recesses of what should be safe havens, sometimes lurk dangers more profound than any external threat.